12:15 here on TSN Radio. Welcome back to GamePoints. Stefan Micella, Moe Khan, Marco Polo here. We all remember this song. We dusted it out from the CD collection. What song is this again, Stefan Micella?
This is Alive from
That's
POD.
Right. POD. That is correct. You got the Andre Rasko stat line. I said he was 17-5-1, correct?
And you are absolutely right, Mo.
That's why I'm the Secretary of Stats.
It is shocking with a 339 goals against average and an 881 save percentage that year that he was 17-5-1.
Hey, he was probably the best backup goalie. And people thought he should have started over Roy during that year. But
I guess it's like Tim Tebow. He's a winner.
He is a winner.
Hopefully, if Skip Bayless had watched hockey, he probably would have wanted Rastico to start as well.
Raptors up 88-67 over Golden State late in the third quarter. Now joining us, one of the best out there in the business, one of my favorites, one of my mentors, Gabriel Morency. Gabriel, how you been, sir?
Hey, I'm doing good, Mo. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the kind words, man. It's good to be back on the Montreal airwaves.
I can tell you, you created a lot of hype the last couple of days with the promoting of your appearance on 690, and people super stoked to hear your voice back on the Montreal airwaves.
Yeah, especially in this time slot. You're sitting, I guess, in a different chair, I guess. You guys are in a different building right now, but I guess it was about 7, 8, and 9 years ago. Right around at 12:15 every night, I was getting into trouble and upsetting management.
Aren't we all at this time of hour anyway, inside the radio studios and outside? Gabe, look, you are in Toronto and Vegas, crisscrossing back and forth. You have a strong pulse on the American sports scene. Buffalo Bills, they are close to your heart. You follow them with great passion. Can it work in Toronto, especially when they only had about, less than 40,000 at the game on Sunday?
No, it's a unique situation with the Buffalo and Toronto series. I think it's safe to say that it's been a failure. For various reasons, it's been a failure. And it's strange because Toronto is a huge National Football League market. And, in fact, there's about 30,000 people a game from Ontario that actually go to Ralph Wilson. But, the fact of the matter is, the Rogers pays a lot of money for this game, $8 million a game. So, therefore, they have to charge a lot for the tickets. And, we're talking, Mo, $260, $270 to sit on the 40-yard line. And the fact of the matter is you can get season tickets at Ralph Wilson for about $399. So you're getting 7 games basically for the price of one. They do it too late in the season. So the fact is the Bills are always a bad team. And it's funny because, and I'm a diehard Bill fan, and I have been since the 70s, my entire football life, basically. And there's always we would have won that game if it was in Buffalo at the Ralph. And it's like, the Bills have never blown a game at home before, right? I mean, it's kind of an excuse. It wasn't, the fans' fault. Was it as intense as it would have been at Ralph Wilson Stadium? No. I think they should have opened up the roof. I think that's something they should do to make it a true Bills home game. But it's disappointing because the Bills are better than a 4-8 football team. But at some point, like Bill Parcells so famously said, you are what your record says you are. And, the Bills are a 4-8 football team.
Within the next 10 years, where do you see the Buffalo Bills being, in Buffalo or maybe up in Toronto?
No, you know what? I think that they will stay in Buffalo. I don't think that the other company, we'll call them, has the intestinal fortitude to want to spend $1 billion for an NFL team. I think they're going to be gun-shy after they see the attendance levels for this. And not to mention, people don't realize this. The city of Buffalo, there's a lot of pot shots about it, but it's actually being revitalized right now. The governor of the state, Governor Cuomo, he gets a lot of votes from upstate New York. He's an upstate New York type of guy, and he's been getting a lot of votes. He's been pumping a lot of money into the Buffalo economy. We see with the Sabres. The guy's one of the richest guys in America that owns the Sabres. I think that eventually Buffalo will probably renovate. They're already renovating Ralph Wilson Stadium. Erie County just extended the deal for 10 years. I don't think the Bills are moving anytime soon. Now, the Jacksonville Jaguars, or even maybe the St. Louis Rams, are another story. As that wouldn't shock me if the Jaguars ended up in London, but that's another story.
We're in conversation with Gabriel Morency, host of MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network and, of course, on Sirius XM Channel 167. Montreal Canadiens, your thoughts on the season so far? Impressed by what they've done up till now?
It's amazing. I see that the Canadians have lost 9 games this year, and I must have bet on them like 7 out of the 9 times. Every time I take this team, they don't win, and when I go against them, they do win. You got to be impressed. I've always been a Michel Therrien fan. This team will really only go as far as Carey Price going to be able to take them, but having seen this team for as long as I have, at least, this model, so to speak, and I know that they're a little bit bigger, but at the same point in time, they're not. They don't have that legitimate superstar guy that's going to light the lamp up. And, even in a similar fashion as a Phil Kessel tonight, they got his 200th goal. Canadians just don't have that, this guy's going to score for us, and we know he's going to score for us. And I think that's a problem. And I think as the season wears on, and it's just painfully long, the NHL season. I like the shortened season better last year. Painfully long. Maybe the Olympic break will help the Canadians a little bit, but as we see, Mo, as the season goes on, the Canadians are undersized, and by the time you get into April, they're all beat up and injured.
More likely to happen first, Carey Price starting in nets for Team Canada or PK Subban making Team Canada?
I'd say PK Subban, although it's amazing to me how polarizing PK Subban is. I don't get it. It's like everything he does is just under the microscope so much. But the Team Canada goaltending situation is an interesting one, and it appears as though Carey Price is going to the Olympics. I mean, I think if they were selecting a team right now, we're looking at Mike Smith, Roberto Luongo, and Carey Price, which honestly, Carey Price hasn't had a lot of success in big games. We could talk about, you won the World Junior Championships, but that's all good. Canada's supposed to win the World Junior Championships. So, Carey Price hasn't had success. He's never really stolen a series in the playoffs. Now you're going to be throwing him into a hostile environment in Russia and expect him to carry the team. I'm not so sure. I think that they would like him to take the torch and go with it, but I wouldn't be shocked if Luongo ends up between the pipes. And, honestly, who's playing the best right now out of all Canadian goaltenders is Josh Harding.
That's true. Yeah, of course, the Minnesota Wild playing phenomenally well, even with his disease, the MS disease that he has going on right now. And you wonder if they might consider him moving forward again.
Team Canada is going to have a disadvantage. And I know, goalies aren't playing versus goalies, but you have to be a little bit more comfortable with a lot of the other teams' netminders. Finland is deep as hell. The Swedes got quality goaltending. The Americans have, who would have thought it'd be the day when the Americans have 4 or 5 guys to choose from that are that good. So, Canada, could be in trouble. I have my reservations about Carey Price in such a big setting. I really do.
We're in conversation with Gabriel Morency, host of MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network and, of course, on Sirius XM 167. In your humble opinion, why is there a lot of angst with Team Canada and whether or not they'll bring PK Subban on board for their Olympic roster?
I don't know. I don't get it. I thought, to be honest, and let's call it out for what it is, there's not a lot of, there's not a lot of black hockey players. And we see that especially in hockey, look at earlier this year when the kid in San Jose scored. And, how dare he? He scored between his legs, and, he broke the code. And, I said if that kid played for the Toronto Maple Leafs and he was a Canadian kid instead of a Czech, he would have been the player of the week, and Don Cherry would have loved him. But because he's European, he doesn't get it, so to speak. And I think early, for one reason or another, with PK Subban, and I don't really have another reason besides really his race, in which, he's a hot dog, he's too cocky. Where does this kid come off? And the kid wants to win. He's competitive. The kid wants to win. There's a lot of other players in the NHL that act in a similar fashion as PK Subban does, and they don't get called out for it. But I get it, though. He does make mistakes, and this is a big stage, but I think there's a spot for PK Subban on that team.
I think all of Montreal hopes there's a spot for PK Subban on Team Canada in 2 months' time. The Expos, I know that is close to your heart here. Expos Nation is making a lot of noise the last couple of years, going to Toronto for the Jays games and whatnot during the summertime. Are we closer now to seeing baseball being revived with Major League Baseball, not Double-A or Single-A, in the city?
Well, you would probably know as much, if not more, about it than me, since you're so close with Matt Ross, who has done a great job on this. A lot of people had given up on it and figured out, what's a Facebook page going to do, so to speak. But when as many people have responded, and Expo Nation is as alive and kicking as it is right now. There's a genuine buzz about this, and I think the timing is pretty good. I always thought that the Expos would be back, or baseball would be back in Montreal. I thought it would be a little bit longer than it's probably going to be. It's far from being a done deal, obviously. But, the fact is, baseball and the general managers, they have fond memories of Montreal. They remember Montreal being a successful baseball city. There's not a lot of other baseball markets really that are ready and available in the United States right now that have the money, that really want it. It's baseball is kind of it's not as popular as it once was. Let's call it out for what it is. Football is really America's sport right now. With pro football and college football, and with the big news, which was, I guess, was taken pretty hard, obviously by TSN with the NHL situation for the next dozen years. I tell you what, Mo, I don't really see, a better time than right now. We're talking about these TV deals were, $5 and $6 billion, et cetera. I think Bell is in a good position right now, to be in the market for some programming. And, Montreal Expo Baseball would provide that programming. The Expos were getting 3,000 and 4,000 people. It was sad. It was embarrassing. But it was amazing. There was 4,000 people in the stands, but there were 400,000 people watching on RDS. The television market is there. The Expos are popular in the Maritimes. The Expos are popular in Saskatchewan. The Expos are popular in British Columbia. Yes, it's an older demographic, but at the same point in time, the older demographic will watch these games, and therefore TSN will also get some programming, 162 games of programming. And you put the Montreal Expos in the American League East, so the Blue Jays, the Expos have that rivalry. Montreal will be able to sell tickets to the Yankees and the Red Sox games, and I think the Tampa Bay Rays are the perfect team for this.
We're in conversation with Gabriel Morency, host of MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network and, of course, on Sirius XM 167 here. Gabe, college football coming to an end. Who do you see playing for the BCS in early January?
I think it's going to be the top two teams that are in place right now. If Ohio State wins, which I think they will, it's going to be a tough game for them, but I don't think Michigan State's offense will be able to put up enough points. And ironically enough, I tweeted out a picture tonight of Braxton Miller, Ohio State quarterback, Buckeye quarterback, wearing a Montreal Expo hat today in an interview on the Big Ten Network. So I don't know why he's wearing that hat. Maybe Troy Smith gave it to him. But, you got to give credit to Ohio State. And as a Michigan fan, it kind of pains me to. But, listen, they didn't lose a game last year. And because of a ridiculous tattoo situation, Johnny Manziel's making money signing autographs and able to play. Ohio State get a couple of tattoos and the sky falls. And, we know what happened there. They haven't lost in 2 years, basically. So you got to give them their due. And the computer loves Florida State. They have all season long since that blowout win at Clemson. The point spread is going to be Florida State are going to be a double-digit favorite in this football game if it comes to pass, and I think it will. We're probably going to be looking at Florida State laying about 10 points, and I'll tell you what, I'll be on the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Gabe, yes, no, Brady Hoke, your Michigan guy, is he on the hot seat for next year?
No, he isn't. He's on the hot seat with the fans, but he's not on the hot seat with Brandon, the athletic director there. I don't think we should have a knee-jerk reaction either. There's some inconsistencies with this football team. They're unable to close football games. There's too much talent on this team to be a 7-5 team. I mean, the UNLV Running Rebels are 7-5 this year, Mo. That's one of the great stories of college football that no one's talking about. But the UNLV Running Rebels are 7-5, man. Michigan, it's unacceptable to be a 7-5 football team. But Michigan have sort of slipped in the sense that the new breed right now really is, we got Alabama. We've got, you got your Clemsons, the Florida States of the world. And then you get, you got your Notre Dames, your Michigans, your Virginia Techs, teams that have won a lot of games over the years, but are sort of living on reputation.
As we close off this segment, a favorite song of yours, Gabe. Hope you enjoy it. Have a great night, pal.
Hey, always a pleasure, guys.
Take care.